Welcome back to Cluster Fudge, the place where we talk about life's most beautiful breakdowns and brutal truths. I'm your host, Alexandra, part chaos, part clarity, all truth. Today's episode is one I've been putting off, not because it's not important, but because it's painful. We're talking about colorism, not racism, but its sneaky-ass cousin, the one that lives in our families, our communities, our mirrors. Let's get into it. What is colorism? So let's define it. So what exactly is colorism? Simply put, colorism is discrimination based on the shade or tone of someone's skin, usually within the same racial or ethnic group. It's the idea that lighter skin is somehow better, more desirable, or more privileged than darker skin. It's important to note that colorism is different from racism, though they are connected. Racism is discrimination based on race, for example, discrimination against black people by white people. Colorism, on the other hand, happens within racial or ethnic groups where people with lighter skin tones are often favoured over those with darker skin. Historical roots of colorism. Colorism is not new. It has deep roots in history. Its origins can be traced back to colonialism, slavery, and caste systems. During colonial times, European powers ruled many parts of Africa, Asia, and the Americas, creating social hierarchies where lighter-skinned individuals, often mixed race or descendants of colonizers, were given preferential treatment. For example, in the United States during slavery, lighter-skinned enslaved people, often the children of white slave owners, were sometimes given better jobs or living conditions. In South Asia, the caste system and British colonial influence reinforced lighter skin as a marker of higher status. Similar patterns exist in Latin America, the Caribbean, and beyond. These historical power dynamics laid the foundation for colorism, where skin tone became a way to judge worth, intelligence, beauty, and social status. How colorism shows up today. But colorism is not just a relic of the past. It's alive and well today in many subtle and overt ways. In entertainment and media, lighter-skinned actors and models are often preferred, perpetuating narrow beauty standards. In dating and relationships, studies show lighter skin is often favoured, sometimes based on internalized biases. In workplaces, lighter-skinned individuals may have better opportunities or be perceived more positively. Skin lightening products, a multi-billion-dollar global market, reveal the painful desire many feel to change their natural skin tone to fit these standards. The psychological impact. Colorism affects self-esteem and identity, especially in children and young adults. It can lead to feelings of rejection, inferiority, and internalized racism. People with darker skin tones may feel less valued or beautiful. They may face discrimination from within their own communities, adding layers to the trauma caused by systemic racism. Why talking about colorism matters? So why is it so important to talk about colorism openly? Because it's a barrier to true equality and social justice. Colorism divides communities and perpetuates inequality. It influences everything from job prospects to mental health, and it shapes the narratives of beauty and worth in ways that can harm generations. In the next segments, we'll dig deeper into the cultural, psychological, and social impacts of colorism and share stories from those living with it. But for now, I want you to sit with this. Colorism is real, it's pervasive, and it's time we confront it together. Colorism says proximity to whiteness equals value, and that's a lie we've been swallowing for generations. Where it comes from, colonialism's rotten roots. Now that we've defined colorism and why it matters, it's crucial to understand where it comes from. Colorism didn't just pop up randomly. Its roots dig deep into the dark soil of colonialism. Colonialism was a system where European powers conquered and ruled vast parts of Africa, Asia, and the Americas from the 15th century through to the 20th century. The colonizers imposed their language, culture, and economic systems, but also a brutal racial hierarchy that placed whiteness at the very top. At the heart of this hierarchy was a belief in white superiority, which permeated every aspect of life: law, education, religion, even beauty standards. This created a system where lighter skin became a symbol of power, privilege, and access.
The mixed race dilemma.
During colonial times, relationships between colonizers and the local populations, often exploitative or forced, resulted in mixed-race children. These children often found themselves in complicated social positions. In many colonies, lighter-skinned people, often of mixed heritage, were granted higher status than darker-skinned people, even if they were still considered less than white colonizers. They might have access to better education, jobs, or social privileges, a painful reminder of the colour-coded ladder society created. This created a divide within communities between lighter-skinned elites and darker-skinned masses, a division that colonial rulers often exploited to maintain control. Colorism beyond slavery, South Asia and Latin America. Colonialism wasn't just about Africa and the transatlantic slave trade. Its influence spread worldwide. In South Asia, British colonialism reinforced caste divisions and elevated lighter skin as a sign of higher social standing. Bollywood and Indian media still struggle with colorism today, often preferring lighter-skinned actors for lead roles. In Latin America and the Caribbean, a complex racial hierarchy emerged during and after colonization, with lighter skin associated with European ancestry and higher social status. The legacy of colonial colorism today. So how does this history affect us today? Many modern-day colorist attitudes are direct legacies of these colonial hierarchies. Skin tone is still often equated with beauty, intelligence, and worth, deeply embedded in cultural norms. This isn't just a personal bias, it's a systemic problem affecting institutions, media, and social interactions. The cost of colonial colorism, the cost of this colonial legacy is high. It fuels division, self-hatred, and discrimination within communities already fighting racism. It fragments solidarity and stalls progress toward equality. But by understanding where colorism comes from, we can start to dismantle it. Recognizing the colonial roots helps us see it not as an individual failing, but a system we can challenge and change. Coming up next, we'll explore how colorism shows up in everyday life, from beauty standards to employment, and what it means for the people living it. Stay with me. Welcome back. So far, we've unpacked what colorism is and traced its roots back to colonialism. Now, let's talk about one of the most powerful forces keeping colorism alive today, the media. The media, TV, movies, advertising, music videos, magazines, social media, shape how we see ourselves and others. And unfortunately, it often sends a very clear, damaging message. Lighter skin equals beauty.
Hollywood and representation.
Let's start with Hollywood. For decades, lead roles, the heroes, the lovers, the celebrities, have overwhelmingly been played by lighter-skinned actors, even within black or brown communities. Studies have shown that darker-skinned actors get fewer roles, and when they do, they're often typecast as villains, sidekicks, or comic relief. Meanwhile, lighter-skinned actors get the glamorous parts, the love interests, the good guys. This sends a subtle but powerful message. Lighter skin is more desirable, more valuable. Beauty and fashion industries. This bias extends beyond film. Advertisements for beauty products, fashion campaigns, and magazine covers have long favoured lighter skin tones. Even in countries with predominantly dark-skinned populations, lighter-skinned models dominate. The promotion of skin-lightening products is a massive industry worth billions globally. From creams to treatments, these products promise lighter skin, implicitly selling the idea that darker skin is something to fix. Music and celebrity culture. The music industry isn't innocent either. Music videos, album covers, and celebrity culture often highlight lighter-skinned performers as the faces of success and glamour. This isn't just coincidence, it's a continuation of colonial-era beauty standards wrapped in modern packaging.
Social media's double-edged sword.
So, Social media can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it allows marginalized voices to share their stories and challenge beauty norms. But on the other, platforms are flooded with filtered, edited images promoting a narrow standard of beauty, often emphasizing lighter, flawless skin. Filters and photo editing apps can lighten skin and erase features associated with darker skin tones. This creates unrealistic, homogenized ideals that pressure people to conform. The psychological toll. All of this affects self-esteem and identity, especially for young people growing up surrounded by these images. When the media repeatedly shows you that lighter skin is better, it can cause feelings of inadequacy or self-rejection. It can lead to internalized colorism, where people begin to believe these harmful stereotypes themselves.
Breaking the myth.
But change is happening. There's growing awareness and pushback against colorism in media, movements advocating for diverse representation, embracing all skin tones, and celebrating natural beauty are gaining ground. Brands and media outlets are slowly diversifying the faces they showcase, and more voices are calling out colorism openly. Changing media representation is critical because it shapes culture. When the media embraces all shades of beauty, it helps break down colorism's hold. Up next, we'll dig into how colorism affects mental health and identity, the invisible wounds many carry. Stay with me. In-house harm, colorism in families. We've talked about colorism in history and media, but one of the most painful places colorism shows up is at home, within families. Colorism isn't just about society's beauty standards or media representation. It often starts where we least expect it, in the very people who are supposed to love us unconditionally, our families. The family dynamics of colorism. Within families, colorism can take many forms: preferential treatment of lighter-skinned siblings or relatives, comments about skin tone, sometimes subtle, sometimes outright hurtful, the lighter is better mentality passed down through generations. For example, many people have heard phrases like, "You look so beautiful with your lighter skin," or, conversely, "You'd be pretty if you weren't so dark." These comments can seem small, but they plant deep seeds of doubt and shame. The impact on identity and self-worth. When a child grows up hearing these messages, it shapes how they see themselves, often negatively. They may feel less loved or valued. They might struggle with self-esteem or question their worth. They can develop internalized colorism, where they unconsciously absorb these biases and judge themselves or others based on skin tone. It's heartbreaking because family is supposed to be a safe place. Yet colorism can create division and pain in the most intimate relationships. Stories from real people. I've spoken with many people who've shared their experiences of colorism within their families. One woman told me she was always compared unfavorably to her lighter-skinned sister, told she wasn't as pretty or that she needed to take better care of herself because of her darker skin. Another person shared how their parents encouraged them to use skin lightening creams from a young age, believing it would help them succeed in life. The cycle of colorism. Colorism in families often continues because it's passed down unconsciously. Parents and grandparents may themselves have internalized these biases from their own upbringing or colonial legacies. Without awareness, the cycle repeats, causing harm across generations. Healing family colorism. But here's the thing, it can be unlearned. Families can start healing by opening honest conversations about colorism and its impact, challenging harmful beliefs and comments, embracing all skin tones within the family equally, supporting children and relatives in developing pride in their natural skin. Healing is possible when we confront the hurt and choose love over bias. Next, we'll look at how colorism affects opportunities in work, education, and beyond, and why this inequality must end. Stick around. love, dating, and the fetish of lightness. We've talked about the origins of colorism, how it affects families, and its heavy presence in media. Now let's dive into a very personal, intimate space where colorism often quietly or not so quietly plays out. Love and dating. Colorism in romantic preferences. Colorism shapes who people are attracted to, how they see themselves as partners, and even who they believe they deserve. It influences dating preferences, sometimes in ways that are conscious, but often unconscious. For many, lighter skin is equated with beauty and desirability. This bias doesn't just exist in mainstream dating culture. It shows up strongly within communities of colour themselves. Studies have found that within Black, Latinx, and South Asian dating pools, lighter-skinned individuals tend to be preferred for romantic relationships. This isn't about attraction alone. It's tied to societal conditioning about what is attractive and worthy. The fetishization of light skin. But there's a darker side to this preference, the fetishization of light skin. Fetishization means reducing someone to a set of physical traits, in this case lighter skin, and treating them as an object or ideal rather than a whole person. It can manifest in dating as exoticization, objectification, and even controlling behaviours. People with lighter skin may be pursued because of their skin tone, not necessarily for who they are as individuals. This can be flattering on the surface, but it's deeply harmful because it reinforces colorist stereotypes and erases personal identity. The impact on darker-skinned individuals. On the flip side, darker-skinned individuals often face rejection or invisibility in dating circles. This exclusion can cause feelings of inadequacy or self-doubt, internalized colorism, where people start to believe they're less attractive or less worthy, emotional pain and identity struggles. Colorism and online dating. Online dating apps have brought colorism into sharp focus. Many dating profiles explicitly state preferences for lighter skin, sometimes using terms like light-skinned only or no dark skin. This blatant colorism perpetuates stereotypes and exclusion, and it's a reminder that these biases are still very much alive. Challenging colorism in love. But love can also be a space of resistance. Many people and communities are pushing back against colorism in dating, affirming that all skin tones are beautiful, worthy of love, and deserving of respect. Emphasizing connection, personality, and shared values over superficial traits. If you've struggled with colorism in your love life, know this: you are valuable exactly as you are. No shade defines your worth or capacity to love and be loved. Up next, we'll talk about colorism and mental health, the emotional toll it takes, and paths toward healing. Stay tuned. Mental health, self-esteem, and internalized hatred. We've been peeling back layers on colorism, where it comes from, how it shapes love and family, and now let's talk about something deeply personal but often overlooked: the mental health impact of colorism.
Alexandra.
Colorism is not just about external appearance or social preference. It's about how those preferences and biases get internalized and shape the way people feel about themselves, their worth, and their place in the world. The burden of internalized colorism. Internalized colorism happens when people absorb society's colorist messages and start to believe them, sometimes without even realizing it. This means seeing yourself through a lens that favors lighter skin. It's a painful form of self-judgment, a kind of internalized hatred directed at your own natural skin tone. Imagine growing up constantly told or seeing around you that your darker skin is less beautiful, less professional, or less desirable. Over time, those messages can chip away at your confidence and self-love. Effects on self-esteem. People experiencing internalized colorism often struggle with low self-esteem and feelings of inadequacy, shame about their appearance, anxiety or depression linked to their skin tone. This is especially true for young people who are still developing their identity and self-worth. Colorism and mental health statistics. Research has linked colorism to mental health disparities. For example, studies in African American and South Asian communities show that individuals with darker skin tones report higher levels of stress, depression, and anxiety related to discrimination and color bias. These impacts aren't just emotional, they can affect physical health and overall well-being. The invisible wounds. The pain caused by colorism is often invisible to the outside world, which makes it harder to recognize and address. Unlike overt racism, which is more openly condemned, colorism can be subtle, whispered, or hidden in compliments and family jokes. That subtlety makes healing harder. Breaking the cycle, but healing is possible. Therapy and counseling can provide a safe space to unpack these experiences and rebuild self-esteem. Community support and dialogue help people understand that they're not alone. Representation matters. Seeing diverse skin tones celebrated in media and culture helps combat internalized colorism. If you're listening and feel weighed down by colorism, remember, your skin tone is beautiful and valid. You deserve love, respect, and acceptance, starting with yourself. Coming up next, we'll talk about movements, activism, and how communities are fighting back against colorism, reclaiming pride and rewriting the narrative. Stay tuned. So, what do we do? All right, we've come a long way today. We've unpacked colorism's roots, its impact on families, love, media, and mental health. But now the most important question: what do we do about it? Awareness is the first step. It starts with awareness. Understanding what colorism is, where it comes from, and how it shows up in our lives is the foundation for change. Talk openly about colorism. Name it when you see it, in yourself, in your family, in media, in your community. Challenging colorism in ourselves and others. Next, challenge those internalized biases. Colorism isn't just out there, it can live inside all of us, often unconsciously. Question your preferences. Are they really your own or shaped by society? Call out colorist comments or jokes, even when they come from loved ones. Celebrate all shades of beauty, including your own. Support representation and diversity. Media and culture are powerful tools for change. Support and amplify artists, creators, and influencers who celebrate diverse skin tones. Demand better representation in TV, movies, advertising, and fashion. Share stories and content that uplift darker-skinned voices. Practice radical self-love and community healing. Healing colorism means healing ourselves and our communities. Embrace radical self-love. Remind yourself daily that your skin is beautiful and worthy. Connect with others who understand your experience. Participate in or support groups and movements working to dismantle colorism. Educate the next generation. Education is key. Teach kids and young people about colorism early so they can grow up proud of their skin, aware of bias, and ready to stand against it. Final thought. Collective responsibility. Colorism is a system, and systems change when we decide to change them. It's on all of us to dismantle these harmful ideas, to create a world where every shade is celebrated and loved. Thank you for sitting with me through this important conversation. Remember, the work isn't easy, but it's necessary. Let's keep learning, speaking up, and healing together. This has been Cluster Fudge, hosted by me, Alexandra. Until next time, love yourself fiercely and stand strong.